Right now, there are teams of engineers in buildings you will never visit, with budgets larger than most countries, working on one single problem. How to keep your attention for one more second. How to make you feel something just strong enough to keep scrolling. How to learn, faster than you can consciously detect, exactly what makes you anxious, what makes you envious, what makes you outraged, and how to serve you more of it before your brain can decide whether it actually wants it. Social media is not a place you go. It is a machine that studies you. And most people are walking into it every single day without realizing that the machine has already been running experiments on them for years. But there is a category of person who uses this machine differently, not because they are anti-technology, not because they have opted out entirely, but because they understand something fundamental about what is actually happening when they open an app. They are mentally harder to control, not because they are smarter in the traditional sense, because they are more deliberate, more defended, and more honest about what the machine is trying to do to them. Here are the 5 hard rules that separate those people from everyone else. Rule number 1. They never let strangers decide their worth. You post something, and then you wait. Not consciously, maybe, but some part of you is waiting for the number to go up, for the notification, for the signal from people you have never met, will never meet, and who know almost nothing about your actual life to tell you whether what you said, what you did, or who you are is good enough. Psychologists have a name for what this does to the brain over time. They call it contingent self-worth, the state of tying your sense of value to external, uncontrollable outcomes. And the research is unambiguous about where this leads. Anxiety, chronic comparison, and a slow, almost invisible erosion of the ability to feel good about yourself without someone else confirming it first. What intelligent people understand about likes and shares and follower counts is that they are not a mirror. They are a slot machine, designed to be inconsistent enough to keep you pulling the lever, designed to give you just enough reward to make you come back for more. Handing the measurement of your worth to that machine is not humility. It is emotional outsourcing. You are giving the most important psychological decision of your day, whether you matter, to an algorithm that does not know you, does not care about you, and is optimized not for your well-being but for your continued engagement. The rule is simple. Your worth is not a number, and any system asking you to behave as if it is a system you need to use with your eyes fully open. Rule number 2. They never argue with someone addicted to misunderstanding. You have seen this. You have probably done this. You make a nuanced point online. Someone reduces it to the worst possible version of what you said. You try to clarify. They reduce the clarification. You try to add context. They ignore the context and repeat the accusation louder. And somewhere around the 4th response, you realize that you are not in a conversation. You are in a performance. They are not trying to understand you. They are trying to win an audience that is watching the exchange. Highly intelligent people learn this distinction faster than most, and they act on it with a discipline that looks from the outside like indifference. It is not indifference. It is energy management. Because engaging with someone who is addicted to misunderstanding you is not a conversation. It is a tax, and you are paying it with the most finite resource you have, your focused mental energy. There is a principle in cognitive science called the illusion of explanatory depth, the idea that people consistently overestimate how deeply they understand complex things until they are asked to actually explain them. Social media rewards confident simplicity over careful complexity, which means the loudest voices in any comment section are almost always the ones with the shallowest relationship to the topic. Explaining depth to someone addicted to a surface is not noble. It is a waste. And silence in that context is not weakness. It is wisdom choosing where to spend itself. Rule number 3. They know the difference between scrolling and learning. This one is subtle enough that most people miss it entirely because it feels like learning. You are taking in information. Articles, videos, takes, opinions, facts, stories. Your brain is active. Something is happening. Surely this counts. It does not. And here is the neuroscience of why. Learning, actual learning that builds intelligence and changes behavior, requires something that scrolling is specifically designed to prevent. It requires friction. It requires the slight discomfort of sitting with information long enough to connect it to something you already know, to question it, to apply it, to argue with it, to build a structure out of it. Scrolling removes all of that friction. It delivers information in a form so smooth, so effortless, so frictionless that nothing sticks. You consume, you feel informed, and 3 hours later you cannot recall a single specific thing that shifted how you actually think. Intelligent people distinguish between these two experiences deliberately. They do not just consume content, they select it, they slow down with it. They write something about it, argue with it internally, connect it to something else they know. They turn selected information into structure, and structure is the only thing the brain can actually use. Everything else is just noise dressed up as knowledge. Rule number 4. They refuse to turn private pain into public content. There is a moment in the middle of something genuinely hard where the thought appears, should I post about this? And the logic is seductive. People will understand. I will feel less alone. Maybe it will help someone. Maybe it will matter. And sometimes that is true. But highly self-aware people ask a harder question before that post goes up. Who is this actually for? Because there is a version of sharing that is honest and human and genuinely connective. And there is a version of sharing that is a performance of vulnerability designed to harvest sympathy from an audience. And the difference between those two things, while invisible from the outside, is felt on the inside by the person doing it. When your private pain becomes content, something shifts. You stop processing the experience and start packaging it. You stop healing and start performing healing. And the audience, even when they are kind, cannot give you what you actually need from that moment. Because what you actually need from that moment is not likes. It is time, reflection, and the company of people who know your full story, not just the version that fits in a caption. Not every part of your life belongs to an audience. The parts that do not, the parts that are still tender, still unresolved, still becoming something you do not yet have words for, those parts deserve to be protected, not performed. Rule number 5. They refuse to let the algorithm decide who they are. This is the most dangerous thing the machine does and the thing most people are least aware of. It does not just show you content. It studies what makes you click, pause, react, and return. And then it builds a model of you, a model of what you fear, what you envy, what makes you feel superior, what makes you feel threatened. And it begins slowly and invisibly to feed that model back to you, not to inform you, to confirm you. What starts as a platform becomes a mirror that only reflects the parts of you the machine has found most exploitable. And over months and years, people begin to confuse that reflection with their actual identity. They think their outrage is their values. They think their curated aesthetic is their personality. They think the version of themselves that keeps the algorithm satisfied is the version of themselves that is real. Intelligent people resist this not by leaving social media, but by actively questioning what the machine is showing them and why. They deliberately seek out ideas that challenge the model. They follow people who disagree with them thoughtfully. They ask, regularly, whether what they are believing is something they arrived at or something they were delivered. Because here is the brutal truth that all 5 of these rules point to. Every single scroll is training your mind, not metaphorically, literally. Every piece of content you consume, every reaction you allow yourself to have, every argument you choose to enter, every emotion you let the machine trigger in you is a repetition. And the brain learns by repetition. Whatever you practice, the brain gets better at. Practice outrage, and your brain becomes a more efficient outrage machine. Practice comparison, and your brain becomes faster at finding reasons you are not enough. Practice distraction, and your brain loses, measurably and progressively, the ability to sustain deep focus on anything that actually matters. But practice discernment, and your brain becomes sharper at it. Practice selective attention, and your brain gets better at protecting it. Practice asking why the machine is showing you this, and over time, your brain becomes the kind of brain that cannot be so easily operated. You are not just a user of social media. You are being trained by it, every single day, whether you chose to be or not. The only question is whether you are paying enough attention to decide what you are being trained into. Because the machine never stops, but neither does the mind that decides to watch it clearly.